Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Tuesday, August 11. Amid a resignation steeped in controversy, former Health Minister Dr. Jcn Sands confirms that he was asked to resign. He says this much on JCN's Jones and Company talk show this past Sunday. Now, back in May, the Elizabeth MP offered his resignation to Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis for his actions relating to 6 permanent residents landing in the country with COVID-19 testing supplies while being allowed to quarantine at home before they produce a negative COVID-19 test result. The former Minister of Health spoke of what happened behind the scenes.
I didn't think that I had done anything that warranted resignation. I received a draft of a letter of resignation.
That came from?
That came from the office of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And I was asked to review it and to determine whether I could affix my signature to it, and I said that I couldn't.
That was the letter in which he said that he would not accept your resignation.
And I said that this is not something that I am comfortable signing. I then requested some time to edit, to change, to modify the letter to something that I was comfortable with that still met the basic principles that, okay, there were these rules that, certain things had happened. There was obviously no malice attached to it, but if it violated the letter and spirit of the executive orders, okay.
Dr. Sands says that he was taken aback when he saw the first letter circulating on social media, stating that he did not need anyone to write anything for him as he was capable of speaking for himself. Now, when asked if he considered himself to be fired from his former position, Dr. Sands says this.
Semantics, Mr. Jones. At the end of the day, I am no longer a cabinet minister.
But if I ask an employee of mine or an appointee of mine to resign, I'm firing that person. So the fact of the matter is,
I believe that this was something that got away. This was never intended to rise to this level, and that there was a certain anticipated set of optics that letter of resignation is tendered, it's refused, it's nice and tidy.
Dr. Sands was succeeded by a former Minister of Transport and Local Government, Renward Wells. More than $100 million spent in unemployment assistance to Bahamians in the last 4 months, according to Minister with responsibility for National Insurance Board, Brensel Roll. But hundreds of Bahamians still gathered at the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium waiting to collect overdue NIB unemployment benefit checks on Monday. And it didn't go so well for many who complained that they endured the long line and hot sun only to be told that there was no check to receive. Now, over the weekend, NIB released a list of names of those who should collect checks at the stadium. Just recently, Minister Roll stated that there were thousands of uncollected checks. Today, just before his weekly cabinet meeting, he acknowledged challenges at the stadium, noting that the transition from those who did not collect checks and the new government rollover program resulted in hundreds coming to collect or simply to see if there was a check to collect. He says for the most part, NIB was able to satisfy a significant number of Bahamians.
They got the checks that we printed for them, but you got to take into account that there are hundreds of Bahamians, one, who do not have a bank account, so we cannot make a direct deposit to them. Secondly, they may not want us to make a direct deposit because the banks may deduct sums from them. And thirdly, some individuals, particularly those who wanted to get on a new rollover program, saw this as an opportunity to come to NIB to get service.
Now, there have been complaints from many Bahamians that should have received money through their employers who have yet to receive the full first 13 weeks of benefits. To that, Minister Roll says this.
We will have a list of actual physical checks that we have in our possession. We will go down through the line and perform a triage so that individuals who are there to pick up a check can join the line and leave the speculation to others. We also realize that from a perspective, a significant number of Bahamians just heard about the government rollover program and they have not registered in the program. And so that has created some frustration. So we've asked them to register so that they know and that we can pay them.
The minister says those companies are being monitored and says there are lots of moving parts when it comes to the unemployment benefit. And while he understands the frustration of persons during this pandemic, particularly with it being more than 13 weeks of receiving their benefits, he says NIB anticipates a significant number of Bahamians will show up tomorrow, and NIB has devised a plan.
I can't say what is happening with the company. We have an arrangement with the companies to disperse the money to the clients. This arrangement is based on the fact that the companies have given us a list of persons who work for them who are unemployed as a result of this. In addition to that, there are hundreds of individuals who have gone back to work. And I discovered this yesterday when I went to the sports center. They've gone back to work. The companies have advised us that they're back to work. And they've come for a check. Well, it doesn't work like that. It is unemployment assistance. Once you go back to work, then you don't get the assistance anymore from NIB.
Minister Rose says NIB paying out more than $100 million in assistance is significant and is a reflection of the 38,000 Bahamians that are unemployed at this time. Minister of National Security Marvin Dames giving high praises to law enforcement agencies on their containment of the spread of COVID-19 within their respective agencies. Over the last several weeks, there have been reports of members of the armed forces being exposed to COVID-19 cases and either testing positive or being placed in quarantine.
In the defense force, I think the total numbers were, just around 10, thereabouts. That's not bad for, an agency that's out there, that's at sea, that's on almost every island, and that are out there on the front line. The police force, those numbers, I think they have been 2 and double digits, but not high, in comparison with the number of officers that we have within the police force and the duties that they are performing.
Several weeks ago, Mr. Dames confirmed that an off-duty prison officer did test positive. However, he says he's still pleased to note that the Department of Correctional Services remains COVID-19 free.
Every time we meet, we have to applaud them for the work that they've been doing. The commissioner, he and his team, they have been doing a tremendous job. When you look again at correctional institutions throughout the world, they've been plagued by outbreaks of COVID.
According to the minister, from the onset of the pandemic, there were plans put in place for the respective agencies to manage during this time.
Wherever we have an incident of COVID within these agencies, we're going over and beyond to ensure that we don't have an outbreak. And so what we would normally do is, we extend the ring to ensure that, we have it fully contained.
Nevertheless, Mr. Dames thanked all members of the armed forces for the work they're doing as frontline workers in the midst of this global pandemic. The Ministry of Health reported 47 additional confirmed cases of COVID-19, pushing the total in country to 945. 39 of those new cases reported in Grand Bahama, 3 here in New Providence, 1 case in Exuma, and the details pending for the remaining 4. To date, there are 428 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Grand Bahama, 420 in New Providence, 45 in Bimini, 28 confirmed cases in Abaco, 12 in the Berry Islands, 4 in Exuma, 3 in Cat Island, 1 confirmed case in Eleuthera, and 4 other cases pending. There are 815 active cases and 31 hospitalized cases. Recovered cases stand at 113. 6,557 tests have been completed. Health officials also identifying the latest COVID-19 related deaths that was added to the COVID-19 Bahamas dashboard on Sunday, August 9th, as a 34-year-old male of New Providence died on August 6th. Investigations are ongoing into the details of this unfortunate death. The death toll is now at 15. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.